You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
You know, the cops are out there. They're trying to find ways to bust you for using marijuana. And Kristen Gwynn out there at alternate.org has written a great piece, a nice little list of the 4 shady ways police bust people for drugs. And this is a good little primer to go over here as far as what you need to know on some of these things. First of all, understand that the whole reason why we've got this war on drugs and these cops trying to use these shady ways to bust people is because of the profit incentive of marijuana and of drugs in general. There's a profit incentive for them to go after us. They receive all sorts of drug task force grants. They get drug asset forfeiture to go after us. And then, of course, the fact that, you know, a drug transaction or taking drugs are victimless crimes. Nobody's complaining except the cops. So that makes it another crime that's more difficult to solve. I mean, when in the case of, you know, rape and murder and theft, we all want someone to go after the rapist, the murderer, the thief. There's a victim there that needs to be brought, you know, that needs some justice. So that's part of the reason why we're using these shady tactics. Here are the 4 ones that come to mind most recently. Number 1, fake drug checkpoints. Now, this is something that just recently took place in Mayfield Heights, Ohio. We gave you the heads up on this in our news segment, and it's where they put these big signs on the interstate. Warning, drug checkpoint ahead with drug sniffing dogs. Right? Now, what most people don't know, and why should they, but most people don't know that drug checkpoints like that have been unconstitutional since 2000. The Supreme Court ruled in 2000 that having a traffic checkpoint to search for illegal drugs violates the 4th Amendment. The only reason cops can have checkpoints is A, to reduce drunk driving, you know, impaired driving by alcohol, and B, border checkpoint types, you know, where they're, you know, searching for illegal immigrants. That's the only 2 things that are constitutionally allowed. So most people don't know that. And so what the cops do is they put the big sign up, right? And the sign is, after the sign, there's an exit, you know, on the freeway, and then further down is where the supposed drug checkpoint is. Well, they check for people coming off the exit. People throwing pipes and joints and stuff out the window. People, you know, doing any sort of pretext they can use to pull them over. So if you see a drug checkpoint ahead sign, keep going. Drive like normal. There is no drug checkpoint ahead. The number 2 way the cops are trying to bust you is by having classes to teach them the loopholes they need to know to bust people. This was in California. The California Narcotics Officers Association had a class that was closed to the public to teach officers how to get around Prop 215. You know, despite the fact the voters approved it, and despite the fact the research shows, you know, numerous medical applications for cannabis, the California Narcotics Officers Association says, quote, "There is no justification for using marijuana as medicine," end quote. Because of, you know, all the time they spent in medical school. They know this stuff. Anyway, they had a course, and this was the quote from the course. "This course will focus on California's medical marijuana laws and how they apply to illegal storefront sales, dispensaries of medical marijuana, and cultivation sites claiming exemption under California law. Investigative techniques and methods of shutting down dispensaries and cultivation sites that were developed and tested will be discussed. This is a truly necessary class for anyone who must deal with the issues of medical marijuana dispensaries," end quote. So there you go. They're learning how to get around every little loophole they can find. The number 3 method is kind of disgusting as far as what cops are doing these days, and that is the body cavity searches. We told you the story of Angel Dobbs and Ashley Dobbs, her niece, and you saw that video here on 420 Radio if you're watching our webcam. And this is where the 2 women are pulled over. The cop claims that he smells some pot, so he calls a female trooper in. Female trooper in front of the squad car on the side of the road in view of the dash cam using 1 glove, then goes and cops a feel with the vagina and the anus of these women, slipping fingers inside, using the same glove, just in case these women were What, hiding a doobie? I mean, you claimed you smelled pot, right? What, you thought there was an eighth tucked up in there or something? And if there was, why is that in need of violating someone on the side of the road? Well, good news in this story is the Texas trooper, Kelly Hellison, has been indicted on sexual assault charges. But this is not the only case in Texas. There was another case, 2 black women this time. There were, it was in the Houston area. I caught this off of KHOU. Similar situation. Groped, one glove, just humiliated. There's dozens of black and Latino men who will tell you about being frisked by the NYPD and having their hands put down their pants and feeling around their genitals and their ass. Milwaukee cops, unauthorized searches, according to this one cop, Michael Vagnini, was a cop who was sentenced to 26 months in prison for this type of searching. And the last one, this fourth way that they're trying to bust people and how desperate they're getting. It's just so sad. If you're my age, you'll remember the Johnny Depp vehicle, 21 Jump Street. It's one of the first shows on the new Fox network, kind of launched his career. Well, 21 Jump Street was these teenage cops, or young cops, like in their 20s, right? New rookie cops that looked young enough you could put them in a high school to bust kids for stuff, right? And, of course, they do this. This is for real. I mean, this really happens. In Riverside County, California, in December, the police department sent undercover cops into high schools. Now, in the one case, a very attractive blonde female cop befriends students to try to get them to buy weed. And in one case, she befriends this young boy who was a special needs student. His parents say he's got Asperger's syndrome, right? Kid who's already struggling socially, doesn't have a lot of friends. So they find, it's almost like the wolf trying to pick off the weak zebra, right? Or, what? Wolf? What the hell? Lion. Sorry, mixed metaphor. Lion trying to pick off the... I crack myself up sometimes. The lion trying to pick off the wounded zebras, or the old, or the infirmed, or the too young, right? They're specifically targeting these socially awkward kids. Kids who probably don't have any contact with drugs normally. I mean, this kid, reading the story of this kid in Riverside with Asperger's, he wasn't, a pothead. He wasn't using drugs in any way. And when this woman, this cop was, again, and remember, we're talking about an adult and a child here. And the allure of a relationship, the allure of female attention to draw a child into this. And he resisted all of her advances when she would say, hey, do you got some weed? Get some weed, get some pills, whatever she was asking for. He's like, no, I don't know anybody. I don't know. And she just kept at him and kept at him and kept at him until finally the guy finds somebody to buy a 20 sack off of. And she has him do that a few times, and then they bust the kid. And how is that? I mean, even if their supposed goal is to protect the children, try to take the drug dealers out of the school, you're not taking the drug dealer out of the school when you're setting up the Asperger's boy to take the hit for buying some weed. You're not solving the problem. You're making more problems than actually exist. And the reason why is the profit motive. The reason why is the grants and the asset forfeitures and the easy arrests and the padding of statistics and the quotas and the private prison corporations that contract with our states with contracts that require 90% occupancy. And it's all of these factors, the rehab industry, that makes the money on these kids that get busted and then go through the system time and time and time again. You really want to solve this? We can't say it enough. Legalize the drugs. Get rid of the prohibition problems. Focus on problems that drugs actually cause. Needle exchanges are good things. Cannabis education would be a good thing. But stop making criminals where none exist. Hey, that's all the time I got here. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. We're shutting down right after this. Moving to the new studio. Should take us an hour or so. Take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant